gotta dream it, like you mean it. Embrace the vision, no need to conceal it. There's a masterpiece, the colors so bright. Aim for the stars, reach new heights. Align your life, don't let it design you. Chase your dreams, make them all come true. Dance to the rhythm, move with the beat. You're the creator, get up on your feet. Yeah, you gotta dream it, like you mean it. Embrace the vision, no need to conceal it. Vision masterpiece, the colors so bright. Aim for the stars, reach new heights. Design your life, don't let it design you. Chase your dreams, make them all come true. Dance to the rhythm, move with the beat. You're the creator, get up on your feet.
Peace, peace, peace. What's good? What's up? What's happening? This is Coach Bay, and welcome to another episode of Design Your Life, the podcast where we bring you, expose you to people that have crafted a beautiful life around their dreams, their talents, and their aspirations. And I'm excited about today's guest. But just so you know what this is really all about, this is so you have tools and resources that you can put your hands on and see some folks that have actually done it, hear from them and hear their stories, and hopefully get some inspiration around your ability to actually design your life. Because that's really what it's all about in terms of just being happy. No one wants to wake up every single morning hating what they do, hating who they work with. So Design Your Life is all about your ability to do just that. And I'm excited today, man. Today we taking the time capsule back. I'm going back in time right now, and I'm going to have a conversation with a good brother that I haven't seen and spoken to in a while. And he has given himself the greatest gift that you could ever give yourself, which is a design life. And he, my friend, is a father. He's an owner and president at Mount Airy Animal Hospital and Andorra Veterinary Clinic. He's a traveler, a fisherman, the 2020 CHCA Meritorious Award winner, my good brother, Hakim Franklin. Peace. What's happening?
Not much, man. Not much. Glad to be here.
Yes, aren't we all, man? It's been a journey. It definitely has been. Well, I just want to thank you for coming on and spending some time with me and giving me some of your precious time currency. And it's just good to see you. For those who don't know, I haven't seen Hakeem since high school, and he looked pretty much just like he does now, except for the whiskers.
A little gray in there.
a little cut. I got him in there too. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
So where I want to start at the beginning. So take us back to childhood. You know, where are you from? Where are you born and raised? But also, what was childhood like? You know, what did your house look like, smell like, feel like, and just the environment that you grew up outside? What was that like as a kid?
Some Philly native, uh, even smaller, a Mount Airy native. Grew up in the Mount Airy section of Philadelphia. Uh, Born and raised uh, until recently. A couple months ago, I moved finally out of Philly for the first time.
Okay.
But Yeah, grew up middle class. Um, Mom and dad were there. Uh, Grew up spent most of my formative years in a big old stone Victorian house in Mount Airy. That area of the city is known for these big old homes. They used to be the um, homes of folks that lived in the city. This is like
Mm,
their country home.
okay.
Grew up there, very diverse neighborhood, um, both racially, sexual orientation, economically. Mount Airy has been historically a very diverse neighborhood, one of the most
Mm,
diverse neighborhoods in the country. Um, so I think that helped formulate or became ingrained in my DNA.
mm,
I very much like to be around a wide range of people. Um, let's see, um, Public school student, Philadelphia public school.
Okay, so hold up
Grew up,
before we
yeah.
hold up before we go there, before we because we're gonna get there. I want to know, like,
Okay.
when you were a kid, what did your parents do for a living?
So my mother was a registered dietitian.
Okay.
So she worked for WIC, which a lot of people know, Women, Infant, and Children. They help create supplemental nutrition for people who were struggling financially. A lot of people who were on public assistance would use WIC. So she was a dietitian for WIC. And then a little bit later on, she got a job with the federal government working at the USDA. My father, fine art, offset master printer. He worked for a company called Brandywine Workshop that produced fine art. So he actually has he worked in collaboration with artists to produce these offset lithographs, which some of which are hanging in the Philadelphia Museum of Art and part of their
Okay.
collection. So, I got exposure to the art through my father. Yeah, and he did have a small business on the side where he would print uh, things like letterheads, wedding invitations, business cards, things of that nature for people. So he had his own little small business on the side as well.
Okay. So you had entrepreneurs in the house and kind of had the entrepreneurial spirit kind of growing up. Just we may not even known it, but it was kind of there.
He was. I didn't think about it, that my father did have his own business. I really didn't think of it like that. I thought of it
Yeah.
as like a side hustle.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right.
and my mother, very, very driven woman, um, you know, got her master's and all that stuff. Um, and she instilled a drive, and really high standards in me.
There you go. So when you were a kid, what did you like to do? Like, did you have any specific dreams? What did you like enjoy doing on a daily basis? Was there certain things that you were like dreaming about a lot when you were a kid?
So I think, I was thinking about this for the majority of my life, and I can't think of any other time. I wanted to be a veterinarian. I wanted to be around animals um,
Okay.
from a very young age. Um, Super interested in them. My grandfather, he lived in Jersey. He used always had dogs, raised chickens.
Okay.
I had my own chicken. And always enjoyed being around animals. So, as I got a little older, I started thinking about, careers and things like that and wanted to be a veterinarian. So, that's always been a dream of mine. And it changed, it morphed a little
Mm-hmm.
um, as I got older. Um, I didn't end up becoming a veterinarian, but I'm still in the veterinary space.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So, being around animals was a joy. I used to horseback ride uh, when I was in high school. So I wanted to play football like everybody else.
Right.
My
Right.
mother would not let me. One of my uncles got injured in high school playing football, so that
Okay.
that ruined it for me. So that was out. So I, you know, ended up horseback riding, and not just horseback riding like Western. I was English riding. So, the
Okay. Take break
joppers,
that down. Yeah, break that down for us because yeah, what's
yeah.
the difference?
So it's not the Western style that you think of with cowboys, the saddle. You kind of sit back. This was English riding, like you would see like fox hunt, um,
Okay.
that type of riding. The type of riding that you might see in the Olympics. So jumping over the rails and things of that nature,
Gotcha.
fox hunt, dressage, which is that fancy stepping of the horses. I have
Okay.
started doing that as well.
What age was
So
that?
that's why I started that when I was around 12 or 13 up until 16, 17.
Yo, and your mom let you listen. You take a crazy spill off a horse or get kicked in the
No.
head.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it was not safe. It's
Yeah.
safe to an extent, but it is not without the potential for major injury.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
Yeah. I can
avoided.
imagine.
I had some close calls on a horse, but um, it was fun. Being around animals, spending my day out in the woods on a horse, for hours on end. Amazing experience.
No, that's
Amazing
interesting.
experience.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, we obviously went to school together, but that part I didn't know. But it's interesting the transition from that to kind of where you are today. I mean, your grandfather with the chickens and, kind of, I don't
Hmm.
know if you necessarily had a farm, but it sounds like you just were around animals a lot when you were
Yeah.
young. So, kind of fast forwarding a little bit and going to high school. High
Hmm.
school, who were you in high school?
Who was I in high school? That's a
Yeah, were
good one.
you? Yeah, no. Who
Um,
were you in high school?
so our school was a magnet school, so it pulled kids from all over the city, all different walks of life. I was a Mount Airy kid. Uh, Mount Airy kids got picked on a lot because we were like the bougie kids from the suburbs almost.
From the suburbs,
Um,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Not
but
really though, but yeah.
not really. Yeah, it was the city. Um, but I think in high school, I was the kid that got along with everybody. I wasn't in one particular clique. I wasn't a jock, per se. Even though I participated in sports, I wasn't, the extremely studious. I don't want to say nerds, but the extremely studious people. I got along with everybody. I like to think.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think again that was growing up in Mount Airy, being around diverse people, liking to surround myself with people from all different walks of life. Some of that was ingrained by my father as well. He grew up in North Philly, Richard Allen Project. He always took me back to the project. We
Okay.
were hanging out, you know, in North Philly, and so I think that was very formative in my upbringing and how I moved with different circles. I've
Right.
always been like that, even in elementary school. I talked with everybody, I hung with everybody. Um, I didn't just stick to one particular group.
Right. 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 Right.
Yeah. Um, I was a decent student. I was smart enough to get into our school. Uh,
Right.
had some struggles though,
Right.
academically. But yeah, high school was a good experience.
So okay, so now you're in high school. Are you still fully involved with animals at that point, or did you kind of like drift away from that a little bit? What part of is that playing in your life?
So up until my junior year, I was still involved with horseback riding. And then when I turned 16, I got a job working at a veterinary hospital.
Okay.
Um, I had wanted to be a veterinarian, so I said, let me get some exposure. So as soon as I was able, I started working for Mount Airy Animal Hospital, and so I was working with animals then.
No, so that's interesting because that's exactly where I wanted to go. Is so
Hmm.
was that just? I mean, okay, so Mount Airy Animal Hospital, real close to the house. I'm assuming, real close to the
Yeah,
house.
walking distance. Yep,
Right.
walking
So
distance to
was
my home.
that so what made you like want to work there? So like and it was that was your first job?
No, it wasn't my first job. Um,
Okay.
I had worked in the print shop with my father. And oddly enough, a buddy of mine and we used to kind of run our own lawn service and cleaning service. So I used to clean some church buildings. We used to cut lawns. So we were out there hustling. I mean, it was like our own little business
Yeah, yeah.
that we had going as well. So, I was doing that all through high school, and then, wanted to get some exposure to veterinary medicine since that was
Okay.
kind of what I was thinking career wise. And that's why I ended up applying to Mount Airy.
Got it. Got it. So I would say it's safe to say that you're an animal lover, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So, all right. So, talk to me about just working at the veterinary hospital. What was that like? I mean, you're 16, 17 years old. What were you doing? What was that like?
So I got a job as a kennel assistant. And so the hospital had a boarding facility. So when people went away, they would leave their pets, their dogs or cats with us. We'd take care of them. So I started as a kennel assistant, entry level position. I think I found one of my original paychecks. I was making 3.25 an hour, which was
Oh, damn.
minimum wage then. Yeah. And it was cleaning cages. It was bathing. So I was,
Yeah.
cleaning up poop, pee. I was bathing animals, feeding them. There was janitorial duties involved. So I was, trash collection, sweeping, mopping, cleaning bathrooms, collecting
Yeah.
trash outside. So it was the base. It was the bottom.
Right.
But
Right.
it was nothing glamorous about it. It was loud. It was hot. It was dirty. I was getting all kind of stuff on me. Uh, but it was rewarding because I was working with animals.
Right. Right.
Uh,
Right.
yeah. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
can't
that was
listen.
the start.
My first job, man. I know you said it wasn't your first job, but I never forget my first job. It was around the corner from the house at
Hmm.
Pike's Corner. I don't know
Oh
if you
yeah,
remember Pike's
yeah.
Corner. Pike's Corner. So that was my
Yes, I
first
do.
job, Pike's Corner, right? So my pop, he took me around there one day. He basically just said, "Here, put my son to work." And at that point, probably, I'm probably like, I wasn't able to, I didn't have like working papers. I was probably like 15 or 14, 15. So I was working under the
Okay.
table. And,
Hmm.
they made you do, this is the fish market. And, I'm just a little kid basically. So,
Yeah.
I had to like clean I had to scale the fish. I had
Hmm.
to clean the walk-in freezer, and you couldn't imagine how dirty and stinky and nasty like that walk-in freezer. You can imagine like the pallets, right? You got the pallets with the
Yeah.
crabs and stuff, all that sit on top of it. Underneath
Yep.
all of that is all of the
Yeah.
the nastiest everything, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
I just remember like, I'm 14, 15, so what people think means a lot. So I remember trying to get home without people seeing me because I'm smelling like all kinds of everything. So I'm running through the driveways and trying to get, get
Yep.
home. So I couldn't imagine just kind of like that part of it for you. But it was obviously rewarding because you were doing something that you actually, were enjoyed, essentially being around animals and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And I couldn't get that fix at home because we couldn't have any mammals as pets. My mom has severe allergies to cats and
Oh,
dogs
okay.
and most mammals. Yeah, we actually found out the hard way she was allergic to horses.
Uh
Um,
huh.
Took me horseback riding one day, and it was not pretty by the time we got home. Uh,
Damn.
but so I couldn't get that fix for being around animals at home, and so
Mm-hmm.
being at work, it was that much sweeter because
Yeah.
that was something that I really enjoyed. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So you're working with the animals, and what? I guess. Oh well, first I want to know what kind of animals were you working with? I know you said dogs and cats, but what other animals, if any, were you working with?
That's it. Just cats and dogs. So the
Just
practice
cats
was
and dogs.
exclusively small animals. Yep.
Okay. Okay. So I know you got to have a story in there somewhere because you worked there for an extended period of time. You can tell us about that. but I know you worked there for an extended period of time. But I know you gotta have a story. You ever been bitten, scratched, or like? I know you got something in there.
So it's funny. It's like my first day there, my first official day there. I think I was there a half hour. I got bit by a bull
Okay.
terrier. That's the Spuds McKenzie dog.
Okay.
Yeah, I learned real quick, um, how to handle animals.
Right.
I've got tons of stories. Uh, One in particular that people think is crazy, and it was actually crazy when I think about it. But a couple of my coworkers who were older, they had a breed of dog called Brazilian Steelers. So these are
Okay.
Brazilian Mastiffs. They're
Oh,
super
huge.
loyal to their owners. They're huge dogs, 100,
Yeah.
130-pound dogs,
Yeah.
very loyal to their owners and naturally very aggressive toward strangers.
Right.
Uh, and I don't know how this ended up happening and getting started, but we used to let them loose in the hospital, and I would run around in circles, like through the exam rooms and stuff, with these dogs chasing me, and thought it was fun. This is like the stupid stuff you do as a kid. When you look
Chasing
back,
you
you're
like
like,
they
oh my
wait.
god, that was
Chasing you playing or chasing you trying to like bite your
no,
ass.
yeah, trying to eat me, trying to eat me. Yeah, and I'm laughing, running around, dodging them, closing doors, opening doors, like it was a good time. Um, yeah, so it was insane. When I look back on it, I'm like, that was pretty stupid. Uh,
Yeah.
but I,
Let me just clear something up. Let me just clear something up. Yeah, you are crazy, just a little bit.
yeah, 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 yeah. Um, but one of the things that I think came out of that was it helped me develop a respect for aggressive animals, and I became very good at handling big aggressive dogs. It kind of took some of that fear away. I was then able to, throughout my career and still to this day, handle big aggressive dogs, aggressive cats. Uh, it's still a skill came out of it,
Yeah.
oddly
Yeah.
enough.
Okay, so you started off pretty much at the bottom of the totem pole. You're not a vet,
Hmm.
so kind of talk to us a
Nope.
little bit about your career and what that looked like as you progressed through time. What was your progression like? And what
So,
and just from a position standpoint, like what were you doing?
so I started, like I said, in the kennel, worked there through my high school career. And, simultaneously while in high school, I was struggling outside of work, um,
Okay.
struggling academically. My parents got divorced. And so it kind of threw me for a loop. I was, come to find out, depressed. Ended up uh, failing my junior year, having to repeat it. Got kicked out of ENS. Ended up going to my neighborhood school, um, and kind of dropped out of high school. Like I didn't go to school for a month at one point. And
Okay.
mom found out. She kind of got me back on track. But work kind of saved me.
Wait,
I
wait.
wasn't
So you
doing much.
said wait, you said mom. Wait, hold on. You said mom found out. So mom didn't know
Hmm.
that you had dropped. Like you weren't basically going to school.
Didn't go to school for a month though, but yeah,
Okay.
I had I had given up. Um,
Okay.
I had given up, and so my mom found out, that everything, she helped me get back on track. I got in counseling. Um, discovered I was depressed. But I was still going to work. I was still getting up. I wouldn't go to school, but I was still getting up and go to work.
Yeah.
And that I realized that job saved me. Um, I was in a dark place. And,
Yeah.
the fact that I had that job and I was still getting up and going to work, um, was the only thing kind of keeping me going. And So, that was kind of high school. I ended up, having a kid in my senior year, my son, and, still working there. Um, Ended up going to Westchester. So I did
Mm-hmm.
leave for a year, where I wasn't working there. I was only occasionally like holidays or occasional weekends when I came home.
Mm-hmm.
But while I was there, I was starting to learn other aspects of the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So at the particular hospital, at the hospital I was at, we had the kennel attendants, which that was where I got my start. There was vet assistants and veterinary technicians. So that's like your nurses and nurses assistants. There was
Mm-hmm.
also customer service reps, you know, receptionists that were at the front. So I was just very interested in learning all aspects of the hospital. And so I, left, went to Westchester. I went there for a year, found out it school wasn't the fit for me at that point in time.
Right.
But while I was there, I discovered I liked business and actually was majoring in business administration.
Okay.
Um, Came back after a year, started working, and kind of figured out I didn't want to be a veterinarian anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Liked animals, wanted to stay in the industry, but I also liked business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started, like I said, learning all aspects of the hospital. I've worked every position there, except being a
Okay.
veterinarian. So I started, filling in shifts with the tech, going up and just offering my help, hanging out with them. Like I would rush to get all my kennel stuff done so I could go upstairs and learn what they did. So I
Yeah.
was, learning how to draw blood, learning how to take X-rays. At that point in time, we were still developing X-rays. It was film.
Okay.
So I was in the dark room, learning how to do that, learning how to draw blood, learning how to put in IV catheters, learning how to run different lab tests. So fecal testing stool samples for intestinal parasites,
Hmm.
testing, doing urinalysis tests so you can see what's in their urine, blood cells, white blood cells, um, different bacteria, things of that nature. Learning how to do ear
Mm-hmm.
cytology. So I was learning all this stuff. I'd fill in shifts at the front desk. So I was learning how to greet clients and um, gather information and learning how to be personable with people and um, help people out, help guide them, help them navigate the veterinary health system.
Right.
So I was jumping around learning all these skills over the years, and by the time I was 21, I became the kennel manager.
Okay.
Uh, so I started managing the kennel there, and at the same time, I was still teching, working as a nurse,
Mm-hmm.
and I was still, filling
So
in
you
shifts
were
at the
you
front
were
desk.
you were a nurse in the hospital at that point.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So I
Okay.
was a veterinary nurse. I was also the kennel manager. I was wearing all kind
Okay.
of hats. I was a handyman.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be fixing dryers. I'd go draw blood. Then I'd be up on the roof because we had a leak. I was
Okay.
all over the place.
All right.
Um, so it did that for a few years, and then an opportunity came up where um, the hospital, the practice was bought by a new doctor that came in, and started working with him, and an opportunity arose for me to become the hospital manager when I was 25.
Mm-hmm.
So I started managing the practice and learning that, kind of learning the back end stuff, the business stuff, the, expenses, the purchasing, um,
Right.
really getting an understanding of what it is to run a, not only a veterinary hospital, but a business.
Right.
Um, so, learning HR stuff, it was a lot, but
Yeah.
that it it was interesting because I just kept growing, um,
Right.
while I was there, and so that kept me very engaged. No day was the same. So I was very interested, very driven, and yeah, it kept progressing. So became the hospital manager, and then in my did that for about 10 years, and
Okay.
then uh, became the hospital administrator. So there's a little difference there. Hospital administrator has more control and basically runs the business. The veterinarian that owned the practice at that time, that I was working for, he started pulling back from the practice and was basically starting to retire
Yeah.
and giving me more and more responsibility. And towards the end there, he was you know gone for 8 9 months out of the year,
Oh wow.
and I was running the practice. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
man, that's
yep,
awesome. That's a
yeah.
it's interesting, like where you start in certain spaces, and over time how you just naturally really progressed into a larger role, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But it sounds to me like it all started with just like that natural attraction to animals,
Mhm.
and even and we'll I want to talk a little bit about challenges in a little bit, but even like kind of getting you through some dark times, but staying like locked in on the thing that really like energized you, whether it's your talent or your
Yeah.
dream or your goal, that you really put that name on it. Whether you do that or
Yep.
not, from the outside looking in, that just really guided you through. It's kind of like I
Yeah.
always call like your dreams is like your GPS for your life, and that GPS kind of guided you, as you kind of progress. So, okay, so we kind of get fast forward a little bit more. We get to 2020, right?
Mhm.
So how did first of all, I want to know, how did COVID like impact the business, and then also I want to know how it felt to win that award, that CHCA Meritorious Award. Like, what was the impact there, and how did it feel to be recognized in that way?
So, so 2020 hit. Well, 2019, March of
Yeah.
2019. I think it was March 15th.
Okay.
I remember like the world shut down. COVID hit. It was a really, from a business standpoint, scary time because we didn't know
Yeah.
what was happening. Everybody, everything just kind of shut down. Um, so, shortly after the 15th of March or around then, we were very restricted in the services we could provide and things that we could do. And the industry adapted to what's called a curbside model, where we were leaving pet owners outside and bringing the animals inside. So we didn't have that human contact, or at least we were decreasing it.
Right.
Um, and it was tough. I mean, we didn't know if we were going to be open in the next month, or the next few
Yeah.
weeks. But during that, we discovered as an industry that we are considered essential personnel. So we, were able to keep working, stay open, and discovered like, hey, yeah, veterinarians are essential. We're on the front lines of public health, which a lot of people don't know. They don't realize.
Yeah.
Veterinarians inspect all of our meat for the United States. So your beef, your
Oh,
cattle, your
okay.
chicken, pork, all that stuff is
Veterinarians do
inspected.
that.
Yeah, when it says USDA inspected, it's a veterinarian that inspects that meat.
Interesting.
So we're on the front lines there with our food supply. We're on the front line of disease management. Zoonotic diseases like rabies, leptospirosis. Those things are all controlled and handled by veterinarians. You've probably heard avian bird flu. All those things are controlled and kept in check by veterinarians. So,
Okay.
we realized again, like I said, that we were on the front lines of public health. So we were able to keep working. And then after several months, everybody's home. Everyone said, "Hey, this is a great time to get that dog or that cat that we've been wanting."
Okay.
And
Right.
it just it blew up. I mean, business blew up. It was crazy.
Wow.
Um, we were running like mad. I mean, we were booked weeks out in advance. It it was a mind-boggling thing how busy it got, and we didn't have enough staff. There's staff shortages. There's not enough veterinarians. Still isn't enough veterinarians. Wasn't enough support staff. So it was a lot of long hours. It was long hours, and this went on for a couple of years. It's
Wow.
just starting to slow down a little bit. So yeah, so we got through COVID. I mean, it was tough. It was tough. Um, but yeah, yeah. So yeah, that was
No,
COVID.
so that's no, so you it had the opposite effect because businesses are shutting down, but you guys, your business is blowing up. So
Yeah,
when you were recognized at some point with this award, like where did that award come from?
I'm sorry, Obet. What award is this?
So okay,
I can hear you.
hold up, man. I don't know. Let me see. Uh, you there?
There we go. Yeah.
Okay. So the universe decided that we needed to take a quick little commercial break. I don't know what just happened there. Okay, so but from what I read, in 2020, you were recognized and you received the CHCA Meritorious Award.
CHCA
But
Meritorious Award.
because you were so overwhelmed by receiving that award that you only remember it. Yeah, no, you and looked like a colleague of yours. I found an article of you and a colleague of yours,
Oh, yes,
and
yes,
and
yes,
yeah, you guys had been recognized in 2020
yes,
for some things. So you got it.
yes, yes,
All
yes. Now I
right.
remember. So that was the Chestnut Hill Business Association. I think
Yeah.
so they were looking and spotlighting um, folks who were essentially essential personnel.
Okay.
Highlighting all these people that continued to move and work throughout the pandemic, that were on the front
Right.
lines essentially. And so it was nice to be recognized for that work. I mean, myself and my colleagues, especially the one that was featured with me in that article,
Yeah.
um, we put in some long hours.
Yeah.
There were 60, 70 hour work weeks, just
Wow.
trying to make sure that not only did our staff, which was very important to us, have everything that they needed and they were safe and were able to keep functioning and the business were able to keep functioning, but also we were able to continue to serve the public
Right.
and, make sure pets are getting the health care that they need, the surgeries they need, the vaccines they need. Um, so it was nice to be able to be recognized for that work.
Yeah.
Um, it's not something that I think veterinarians get recognized for a lot.
Yeah.
The work that they do, it's So it was good to see that for the industry.
Nice, nice. Well, okay, so I don't know if you know this, but you have a 2 year anniversary coming up. June 2022 is
Mhm.
your second anniversary of owning the practice. So,
Yeah,
talk to me a little bit about that transition and how that came about. You kind of talked about it a little bit that the current veterinarian who owned the practice was kind of like, you know, easing into retirement. So, what was that process like in the transition from being, the administrator to now owning the business?
yeah. So it's been a journey. I was running these practices for all these years, and in 2020 we started talking about you know him retiring and me buying the practices.
Okay.
Uh, and at this time the veterinary industry is booming. We're still riding on the wave of COVID and all the animals um, that came with it. And, we started engaging in that conversation about transitioning. And, practices were selling like hotcakes. A lot of veterinarians were burnt out, like the older guard was burnt out from COVID. And so there was a lot of turnover with practices, a lot of corporate consolidators were coming in. A lot of big corporations like Mars were starting to come into the industry at that time, and they were buying up practices like crazy. Um, and it was very important for um, Dr. Playmaker, who was the owner at that time. He wanted to keep it in private hands, not a corporate entity. And I won't say corporate because I have a corporation, but one of these
Yeah.
huge corporations.
Right. Right.
Um, national or multinational corporations. So that was very important to him, and it was very important to me also to keep that legacy um, alive
Yeah.
of private ownership. And so, Mount Airy has been around since 1947, the
All right.
practice,
All
so
right.
over 75 years. And, one of my colleagues, we were talking about after I bought the practice, that I'm owner. And he was like, in reality, you're more of a steward of this Mount Airy institution.
Yeah.
And, that's something that's very important to me.
Yeah.
Um, making sure that that legacy stays alive and that stewardship is there of this institution. But we started talking, and in June of 2022, we were able to make it happen. So June 17th, that's the anniversary.
All right.
So I'm coming up on a couple years very soon, and the transition has been uh, great. I mean, it it's not easy. It's a
Yeah.
change of my mindset. It's a change of how I do things. Um, so it's been an opportunity for me to really grow and change again.
Yeah.
It's another chapter in my life, and it's a challenge. It is an extreme challenge. The pressure I feel on a day-to-day basis is so much different than when I was just the administrator. When the buck didn't actually stop with me, when I wasn't on the hook financially.
Right.
I am now ultimately responsible, and it's just maybe more self-pressure than anything else. But I'm ultimately responsible for the careers and welfare of 32 individuals that work for me.
Yeah.
And the decisions that I make can affect, them personally, financially, um, mentally, their careers. Um, but that also, I know that these people also have people depending on them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it has that ripple effect. These decisions I make have ripple effects not only with people who work directly with me, but the people that count on those people.
Yeah.
Um, I now look at the U.S. jobs reports, how many jobs have, you know, been created within a quarter, and I'm now part of that number.
Right.
So it's something that's really I've had to kind of again change my mindset, um, and embrace this new responsibility and
Okay.
pressure.
Well, first of all, congratulations. Now, let me just say
Thank you.
that. Congratulations. And I think a lot of times we put more pressure on ourselves than other people. And that's probably one of the reasons why you kind of rise to be who you are. And if you could think of one of the biggest challenges, because a part of this podcast is not only highlighting just the fluff and the not necessarily
Mhm.
the fluff, but the niceties of
Mhm.
designing your life. But can you think of like maybe the biggest or one of the biggest challenges? I mean, you kind of talk on a broader spectrum, but one of the biggest challenges with that transition going from being a worker to actually being the boss, and then how you got past it.
I think for me, that challenge, the biggest challenge has been, and I think a lot of folks might agree with me that own businesses, it's managing the people. Um,
Mm,
I have 32 employees, and it's 32 different personalities,
right, right.
under one building. And, navigating the ins and outs of people's idiosyncrasies or, coaching people up. Um, I am technically the boss, but I kind of
Mm-hmm.
like you, I think of myself as maybe like the head coach. You know,
Right.
um, I'm taking your skills and your um, gifts or, your strengths, and I'm trying to help you build them.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like that's my job now at this point. The other difficulty, I think, in that transition was people's perception of me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now no longer your coworker. I'm your boss.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
so it's a different dynamic. And I had to accept that change. I was still trying to operate, and I think I still do to a certain extent, um, as the administrator.
Mm-hmm.
And not the owner. And it has been a challenge, because again, it's a change of my mindset. I
Yeah.
managed the hospital for 20 years almost. I was in some sort of managerial capacity, and now I'm the owner, and I have to approach the business differently.
Yeah.
I have to think strategically. I was in the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, and one of the instructors there kind of gave the analogy: when you are running a business, you're the captain of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very important for you as the captain of the ship to not get bogged down in the day to day.
Right. Right.
You don't want to be down in the engine room fixing the engine, because if you are, who's driving the boat? Um,
Right.
you know, you don't want to be, cleaning the deck, because again, who's driving the boat? So, that's been kind of the change in my mindset. And I've always been one to just do it myself. And I've had to
Yeah.
learn how to, hire the right folks, put the right person in the right position,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, communicate with them what my goals and expectations are, and then allow them to do the job. And I have a fantastic staff. Um,
Yeah.
I couldn't do it without them. So shout out to them. My managers and all the staff, my doctors. We have a really good crew. But
Awesome.
it and it part of that transition as well is now taking my vision for the practice,
Mm-hmm.
um, instilling my morals and ethics, and making the practice mine.
Yeah.
Um, you know, that's kind of been my goal over the past year and a half, and so you know.
All right. Hey man, well you're still early in the process, but obviously things are. It seems as if they're going in the right direction, and you're getting your feet under you. My question is kind of going back to where you started. You started with the
Hmm.
chickens, and you started with horses, and you started, with your grandpop in the whether the backyard or what have you. You worked your way through high school and some struggles and some challenges there, and then
Hmm.
I guess the question is, because your father had in your mind what was a side hustle. So in your mind,
Hmm.
he wasn't the entrepreneur. So to go from that to where you are now, like what made you believe that it was possible for Hakim Franklin to become the steward of the legendary business in Philadelphia?
Uh, so I think that realization came out of tragedy. I lost my wife in 2019 to breast cancer.
Mm,
Um, and, it made me realize that if you have hopes and dreams, if you don't pursue them in a manner, like if you don't actually engage and try, they
mm,
will say hopes and dreams, you
yeah,
know. And, um, another thing that kind of helped me to push towards this goal or dream was also my father. My father, he died in 2012. You know, towards the end there, we had lots of conversations, and he had regrets about not doing certain things in his life.
yeah,
So, you know, I took that, I internalized that. Losing my wife in 2019, it made me realize that tomorrow's not promised.
yeah,
Um, we only have today. So if there's something that I want to do, if I have a goal or something I want to experience, I now just I go after it
yeah,
because I don't know what tomorrow's going to hold.
mm-hmm,
And I don't want to look back on my life and say I could have or I should have.
yeah,
And I've had those, experiences in my life. When I was 25, I had the opportunity to buy a dog boarding facility and dog daycare,
okay,
and I got scared
okay,
and I backed out. I
all
backed
right,
out of the deal, and um, that's something I try not to look back and regret things, but I did see that I let my fear of failure keep me from taking that leap.
yeah,
And so, now at this point in my life, going through things that I have, sure, buying this business was scary and it's still scary, honestly,
yeah,
but it is a goal. It was something that I felt that I could do, that I wanted to do, and I took a chance. I took that leap and I did it, you know, so.
man. Listen, kudos to you because I think in general, um, we as people we allow or can allow fear to hold us back, and
Hmm.
um, and also failure as a separate thing. I talk to young people about this all the time. Is that failure? And people have said it in different ways, but failure to me, those are steps on the road to success, and those failures that you go through realistically, those failures are essentially the feedback that you need to improve and to keep moving forward. But the good thing is for you is that you had another opportunity, and the good thing is that you took that opportunity and remembered where you came from, and remember the opportunity, whether you call it an opportunity missed or what have you. But
Hmm.
sometimes the fear and the pain that we go through is what kind of powers us, forward to prosper where we need to prosper. So, I think it's important, for anybody who's watching this, is that the challenges that you go through are the challenges that you need to go through to get to where you want to get to, and running away from the failure, I mean, you're basically running away from the win. You're running away
You
from
are.
your championship. You're running away
Yeah.
from, the gold medal, because you're
Yep.
afraid. And that uncomfortable space is what you need, But we, unfortunately, we've kind of, to a certain degree, been socialized to kind of like feel like, I want to only take the easy route to get to, in their mind, what may be their particular goals, or just kind of staying in that comfort level. So failure, fears are what you need.
Well, risk is uncomfortable, and
Mm-hmm.
um, a lot of folks shy away from it. And I've kind of learned, again through my years and the things that I've been through, to lean into that discomfort,
Mm-hmm.
figure it out, navigate it, try to understand why you feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, what is it that you need to do to get you comfortable, or get you to a space where you're no longer afraid. I look at some of the individuals that I've kind of trained over the years
Mm-hmm.
that, when they came into the hospital, may have been afraid to work with a big aggressive dog. It made them uncomfortable. It was fear
Mm-hmm.
fear inducing. You got a 100-pound Roddy wanting to chew your head off. It, you're going to feel uncomfortable.
Right.
But being able to understand, okay, yes, I'm uncomfortable, but learning how to navigate around that animal, learning the skills that you need to handle that animal, um, you end up being able to succeed with that animal. That 100-pound Rowdy, he's a big baby once you know him. He's
Woo!
laying on his belly now and licking your
Uh huh.
face, and
Oh man, listen,
you know,
that might be something that people just need to just do. You need to work in a veterinary clinic, because when I see 100-pound Rottweiler, I'm not thinking about him rolling on his belly. I'm thinking about, let me get across the street.
exactly, exactly. So, I apply that to life now. If
Yeah.
there's things that make me uncomfortable, I try to figure out why, and I try to understand, or gain the skills so that I can be comfortable. And, then it becomes, like you said, a win.
Yeah.
It's a skill, and even if, let's say, you fail and that Roddy bites you, um, you learn something.
Right.
Even in your failures, you're learning something. You take
100%.
that and you don't repeat that same mistake, hopefully. Um,
Yeah.
so you take that negative and create a positive. There's a bunch of, different things around that. But, um, just continuing to lean into discomfort, I think, helps you succeed.
Nice, nice. I'm curious what you think about mentors and mentorship. What are your thoughts around mentors?
Um, I love it. I wish I had more support. I think they can help you avoid some pitfalls that you could
Mm-hmm.
potentially run into. It's almost like, as parents, I'm sure you have experienced, you're watching your child grow and learn, and let's say they're learning how to walk. you know you're always there to try to catch them and help them, or you help them avoid getting burned or whatever, as they're navigating life.
Yeah.
So you're helping them avoid some of the pitfalls that you already know about.
Right.
Um, so I think that's one of the things that I like about mentorship is being able to help guide people and help them avoid some of the mistakes that you've made to help them be more successful without going through that pain. I mean, they're going to have their ups and downs. They're going to have their issues,
Yeah.
regardless. But I think mentorship helps you grow. It's always nice to have a teacher.
Right.
Um, yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
I wholeheartedly support mentorship.
No, 100%. I mean, I think it's extremely important. I think that that's something that is a missed opportunity. For a lot of people. We are sometimes taught to do it on our own, but it really, if you think
Hmm.
about anyone who has reached any level of success, none of them have done it by themselves. None of them. They've all had some assistance. And, I think sometimes we have to not allow, the world to trick us into believing that we need to do it by ourselves and engage and, like you say, kind of lean into the opportunity to learn from someone and their mistakes and their missteps and, just their knowledge and experience. So for me, mentors are extremely important and really a necessity as you move forward when it comes to your goals and your aspirations. It's priceless, really.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
So so what I wanted to know is, if someone wanted to work in your industry, right?
Hmm.
Where would you suggest that they begin their journey?
At the bottom.
Say it again.
Um, at the bottom.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
it in my mind, it's good to have that base. I mean, not everyone has that opportunity or has to go through that, but um, you know, stepping into the veterinary industry, um, if you can go into even before you go to vet school, if you have some experience working in the veterinary industry, as a veterinary nurse or veterinary assistant or, working in a kennel, there's valuable skills that they can be gained that stay with you throughout your career.
Yeah.
I say this to my employees all the time. You know, I like to try to create well-rounded employees. So I'll have them cross-train. You may have been hired for the front desk, as a receptionist or a customer service rep, but I want you to get some exposure in the back. I want you to see surgery. I want you to see different aspects of the hospital. For me, selfishly, that makes you a more well-rounded employee, makes you a better employee, makes you more efficient. Um, and it has benefits for me. But as that employee, you are gaining skills and knowledge that you take with you. I can't take that away from you.
Right. Right.
Um, even if you left this job, you take that skill with you and you build upon it. I know that my employees, for 95% of them, this is not their final stop. They're not
Right.
going to start like I did at 16 and be working here, you know, 33 years later.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so I'm very conscious of that, and I want to give them skills to take with them.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of mentorship is passing along of knowledge and skills.
Nice. Nice. So how do you, at this point in your career, how do you set and prioritize goals, at this point now, in the position that you're in?
Well, I my first year in practice ownership was about looking at the business and evaluating it and figuring out what its needs are.
Okay.
Um, and I guess that's a constant thing, is what are the needs of the business and how do I look into the future and see what steps I need to take to keep this business going, to make it grow, set goals and how do I achieve them. So, my first year in the business, of business ownership was just really about the basics. Making sure that we had good infrastructure. We put in a new practice management software. We put in new phone systems. Um, Starting with basic stuff like creating protocols, writing them down,
Mm-hmm.
um, creating standard operating procedures for our staff. So it's really about creating a nice base for us to be able to grow on in the future.
Okay.
So now my focus is more on how do I take the business and grow it? What steps do I need to take? So, it I kind of take a look at things, you know, maybe I might have 3 or 4 goals for the year.
Mm-hmm.
I'll set some priorities around, okay, well, which one do I want to tackle first? And then, then we got to take that step of, okay, well, how do we get to that goal? Write down some steps and then
Yeah.
just start actioning them, little by little. Okay, let's work on step one. We need to get to X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And that's where my managers come in and all the help that I need to get to, these goals, get these goals achieved.
Right.
Um, yeah, so, it's a lot of communication. It's a lot
Okay.
of back and forth. It's a lot of give and take. Um, I am not, uh, I like input from my staff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not a authoritarian boss. It's my way or the highway.
Right.
I want feedback. I want you to challenge me. I want you to push back. I want you to, if I have an idea, I want you to tear my idea apart because I want to make
Mm-hmm.
sure it works.
Right.
And I try to empower my staff to engage with me in that manner because they're on the ground. They're in the trenches.
Right.
Not that I'm not there anymore. I'm not in the trenches quite as much, but I need that feedback to them because it would be very easy for me to make a decision. Be like, oh yeah, that's a good decision.
Right.
But since I'm not, in the trenches, it doesn't work. And so I want to make sure that there's a lot of that feedback from my staff.
Nice. So you've been in the game really at this point for about 30 something years. So
Hmm.
just from your experience, are there any habits and rituals that you believe have contributed to just your success? Not necessarily just as an owner, but just as your success, throughout your career because you've done some significant things.
Being curious. Um, I'm always curious about new things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, One thing that my father told me was making yourself indispensable.
Okay.
Um, so, really putting yourself out there, helping others, um, has helped me in my career. You know, it's helped me build relationships. It's helped, you know, me gain new skills. It's helped, my employer, you know, managers who are working above me, they could rely on me. Um, just a drive to continue to learn, um, and not being afraid of hard work. And I've been struggling with this one a lot lately. Is it
Go
is
ahead.
it is it smart to work hard, or is the term really work hard, or is it just perseverance? Like I'm trying to hash that out in my head because working hard can mean hard physical labor.
Right.
It could mean working 80 hours, um, or it could be the fact that you gotta crack open these numbers and really figure out what's going on. So I don't know. I'm struggling with that one.
Yeah, no, it's
But
I think the hard work part of it really depends on some of it depends on role, what role you
hmm
play and where you are and essentially getting it done. You know,
yeah,
finding out what's required, finding out what's
Hmm.
required, knowing what's required, and doing what it takes to get it done. You know, my wife, she told me, because I get up, I'm like crazy. You talk about crazy, I'm crazy. I get up at 3 a.m. Every morning. Well, at least 6 days a week, I get up at 3 a.m. just to get it done, because that's
Okay.
what's required. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, based on the goals and the dreams that I have, based on my lifestyle and the things that I want to accomplish, that's what's required. You know, so there's a saying, work smarter, not harder. You know, that type. I think
Hmm.
that there's something to be said about efficiency. You know, to me,
Yeah.
that's really what that speaks to, is just being efficient. You know, you don't
Yeah.
waste a bunch of time. But listen, man, there's a lot of people out here who they're allergic to working, allergic to hard work,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
get upset with you when you try to hold them accountable. I've been in management positions, and I get the whole piece about the personalities and all that. So I feel for you, brother. For sure when it comes to that. And it's a good thing that you do have a good team, but when you have so many years of experience, and I'm assuming there's been turnover, of course, in
Mhm.
that
Yep. Yep.
business. So there's something to be said about that. But hard work is a part of it, and to get to the space where you are, whether you want to be an owner, whether you want to be an administrator, whether you want to reach any level of success, once you figure out what's required, you gotta get it done. You gotta get your hands in the dirt and get it done.
Yeah. Put the time in. Put the time
Put it
in.
in.
You'd be amazed, or when I start to think and reflect on the time put in, a lot of times it's not an exorbitant amount of time that you need. If
Mm-hmm.
you have a goal that you want to achieve, sometimes if you just put 15 minutes a day into it, you'd be
Mm-hmm.
amazed at how far you can get on that.
Right.
That's not to say that 15 minutes a day is going to make you, Kobe Bryant. He
Right.
spent hours upon hours upon hours,
Right.
um, in the gym. But, you know, sometimes it doesn't require hours and hours. Sometimes it just requires 15 minutes of your time, 1 or 2 times a week.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but you got to be able to put that time in,
It's consistency.
push yourself to do it. Yeah.
It's consistency. I mean, I think it's Tony Robbins who said it's not what you do once in a while that shapes your lives. It's what you do consistently. It's really the consistency over time, and I truly believe that everybody is going to deal with a certain level of pain. That you get to choose your pain. You get to choose your pain, one or the other. You're going to either choose the pain of discipline consistently, or
Hmm.
the pain of regret. You're
Yeah.
gonna feel one of those pains at some point, so you get to choose. And unfortunately, many choose that regret pain without even knowing that they're choosing it. And I
Yeah.
think you hit something major, because it's not, whether it's an exorbitant amount of time or energy, maybe for short spurts or periods you have to put in, tons of hours. I mean, you've done the 60, 70 hour piece, but that's not what you're doing.
Yep.
You've been doing that for 30 years. But digging down and leaning into that uncomfortable space for a certain amount of time that's required, an unknown amount of time in many cases, is what
Hmm.
scares people off,
Yeah.
will give you the rewards and the other end that you need. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Look, I want to play a game with you. We're going to start to wrap this up. I want to play a game with you.
Okay.
Call it a game.
Okay.
Imagine if. All
Okay.
right.
All right.
Imagine if. Imagine if you could invent a revolutionary technology or tool for veterinary medicine. What would it be?
Hmm. Oh man,
What have you seen that's needed?
what have I seen that's needed? Um, a way for people who are disadvantaged and struggling financially to be able to take care of your pet, a safety net, so to speak,
Okay.
um, for financial assistance for medical needs of um,
Okay.
that would be something awesome. There's been so many times in my career that I've had conversations about a pet's life, whether that animal will live or die because of money.
Mm.
And, I wish there was something there that we could take money out that conversation.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. No, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. All right. Imagine if you can open a new clinic anywhere in the world. Where would it be?
Puerto Rico,
Puerto Rico. Okay.
easy question.
No, no brainer.
No
Why?
brainer, no brainer.
Why? Why? Why Puerto
Uh,
Rico?
So Puerto Rico is one. It's just beautiful. The weather is
All right.
amazing. Um, it's close to the U.S. It has a lot of the U.S. benefits. It's a U.S. territory.
Okay.
Um, I've my grandfather was from there, so I've got some familial uh, ties to Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and it's just I love it. I love the culture.
Okay.
I love Puerto Rico. So
There you
yeah,
go. All right. Well, Puerto Rico, Hakim's coming. Uh,
yeah.
all right. Last one. Imagine if you could sit with your younger self. What advice would you give that young man about designing his life?
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to succeed. Um, don't be afraid to fail. Um, you know, take a chance. Take that risk. Um, be smart about it, but you know, don't be afraid to take the risk. Don't be afraid to follow your dreams and goals. I would definitely tell my younger self that.
Okay. Awesome. So I got a couple more questions, but I actually want to back up because something's been on my mind. And there's going to be somebody who's watching this, whether it's a teenager, um, going through a tough time, right? Because you mentioned depression when you were in high school.
Mhm.
And I think although mental health has come to the forefront and people are talking about it a lot more, there's still pockets, probably large pockets, of young men, young women that are going through some stuff and may not necessarily even know what it is, but they know that they're not right and things
Mhm.
aren't right. I'm just curious if there's anything that you can share about that particular time in high school, because you said your mom kind of helped you get through it. But how did you get through that, and what would you say to maybe a young person that may be struggling with some things similar, as to how they can get some help?
You know, it was a very dark time in my life, and I went through counseling. I was seeing a psych, psychologist, at that time, and it is something that is invaluable. I think that a lot of people are afraid of. There's a stigma around taking care of yourself mentally. I think there's a stigma about getting help mentally um, as a man,
Mm-hmm.
as a black man. Um, there's this stigma around that, and I am a huge proponent of taking care of ourselves. And if I've got an ache or a pain, I'm gonna go to the doctor.
Right.
Um, if I break something, I break my finger, I'm not gonna just sit here and tape it up and hope for the best or
Right.
fight through it. I'm gonna go to the doctor. I'm gonna get my finger treated. And I look at mental health the same way. If you are experiencing pain emotionally, if you are struggling emotionally, go get the professional help. Um,
Yeah.
you know, and I will say today, still to this day, I'm still in counseling in some form or another um, to help me navigate my own emotions and feelings. Um, and it's an invaluable tool. I have children. I have, a fiance now. I have family members that I want to be here for, and I want to be 100%. So I, go to the doctor every year. I get my physical. I got my colonoscopy for the first time that past year. I'm doing what I need to do to ensure that I am healthy for my family,
Yeah.
that I can stay, um, the rock that I want to be for them. I want to be there for my daughter. I want to be there for my fiance, and ensuring that I'm healthy both physically and mentally is part of that.
Yeah, no, and I'm first of all, thank you for sharing that. I gotta find this brother's name. There is a gentleman, I believe, out of New York, who he talked about the man box, and the man box, the man box, basically is what society tells men they're supposed to be. You're supposed to be strong. You're never supposed to cry.
Hmm.
You don't ask for help, and that's been the downfall for a lot of people because of the pride involved in the machismo, the ego, whatever you want to put on it.
Yeah.
And it's really, really important for us as men and just individuals, adults, to not be afraid to reach out for help when you need it. So, no, I appreciate you sharing that. Um, so, as we kind of get out of here, I want to know, I want your thoughts on. There is, let's just say, there's a young man, young woman who has something in their mind that they want to do. Like they have this dream that they can't get out
Hmm.
of their head. That they can't turn it off. But they
Hmm.
don't get the support from the people that they love the most. The people that they love the most may be putting their fears on them, maybe telling them that they can't get it done, or whatever it may be, right?
Yeah.
But they can't turn
Yeah.
this thing off. What do you tell that person?
Um, Lightly disagree with it. I have been in that situation. The folks who question your dreams, who put doubt in your mind, and like you said, a lot of times they are pushing their own fears and doubts onto you. Um, take the risk. You know, take the chance. Pursue that dream. And I'm not going to say block out what they're saying completely because that person may have a good reason why they are doubting you or have fears. Listen to what they're saying, but take it with a grain of salt. If this is a dream that you think you can do or you want something that you want, pursue it. Take the steps to um, get there, and um, be able to then go back to that person and say, hey, you had fears about X, Y, and Z, or you were doubting that I could do X, Y, and Z. And here, look, I've done it,
Yeah,
and it's not so much a see, I told you so, like type thing where being able to put it back in somebody's face, like, oh, yeah, I told you I could do it. It's,
yeah, yeah,
for me, it's like, I've experienced that with my own family members and friends. Like, are you sure you can do this? And it's like, yeah, I think I can. And, then I go back to them and say, look, I can, and this is why, and I show them. And it brings them into the fold,
right,
um,
right,
that's a lot of times people do that and that they want to protect you. They
yeah,
do it out of love or
yeah,
care.
yeah,
Um, and, there's, a lot of times it's not ill intent with it,
right,
but
right.
if you want it, you gotta go for it.
Hey, my pop used to tell me when I was a little boy, man, if you want the ball, go get it. He said it in a
Yeah.
bunch of colorful ways, but if you want the ball, go get
Go
it.
get it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you have clearly designed your life, designed and crafted a life that works for you that you feel good about. I just want to
Hmm.
know why is that important to you?
Uh, because ultimately, I want to be able to look back on my life, say that I did the things that I wanted to do, I experienced the things that I wanted to experience in this world. Um, I want to look back and see impact on others, positive impact on others, my family, my friends, coworkers, the veterinary industry.
Mm,
Um, and I want peace,
yeah,
um, being able to do what you are passionate about, um, being able to engage in those passions, be it your profession or your hobbies, that brings, at least in my case, brings me peace.
mm,
Uh, I'm, my home is my sanctuary.
yeah,
Uh, it's where I recharge. The people I have around me are, they help me recharge. They're my base. They're my sounding boards. They keep me humble. Um, so I'm very careful about, the people that I keep, the people I let in my space,
right.
um, the things that I do, how I move in certain arenas, um, all because I don't want stress, I don't want headaches, I don't want a Jerry Springer lifestyle, you know. I've experienced those things, I've had it, and I try to
Yeah,
minimize those things. Um, so I'm very careful about just being intentional about my space, who's around me, and
yeah,
my life
yeah.
essentially. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
listen, you sometimes you've got to make. I told these kids the other day. Sometimes it's important for you to make a determination as to what's more important, your dreams or relationships. And
Hmm.
sometimes you've got to love some people from a distance. So I
Yeah,
I
yeah.
totally understand that. Um, Man, I appreciate your time today. Are there any projects, anything that you want to tell people about, anything that you have kind of cooking that's coming up, and
Um,
how can people get in contact with you
okay.
if they are looking to participate in your business, patronize your business.
Well, yeah. So, I'm just looking to continue to grow my business, businesses, I should say. I have two hospitals. Um, you know, Maybe somewhere down the line, I might start a third location. Um, but they can find me at Mount Airy Animal Hospital. Our website is mountairyvet.com or andoravet.com. You can, contact me there. Has all my information for the hospitals. Yeah. So, it, I'm just looking to continue to grow, maybe start a real estate empire on top of this.
All right, all
Um,
right.
I'm starting to delve into that a little bit. And yeah, I'm one of my other future passion projects is trying to give back and help the way people have helped me get to
Mm,
where I'm at. Like you said, we've all had help. We all haven't gotten to where we've gotten by ourselves.
right.
And I know very well that I stand on the shoulders of those who came before me, and I want to provide that uh, lift up for others, especially young folks, um, in the future.
Wonderful. That's awesome. Look, I've only got one other question for you. People that have designed their lives
Hmm.
around their dreams and passions typically interact with other people that have done the same. So I want you to give me a name, right? But before you give me a name of someone that you believe has crafted a beautiful life for themselves around their dreams and their aspirations and their goals, before you give
Hmm.
me that name, it has to be somebody
Hmm.
that you believe you can help get on the show.
It's an easy one.
Okay.
It's a common friend of ours, Rafiq Glamadine.
Okay, you
Very
gotta give me
driven
another one
brother.
because we done
I
had
can give you
Rafiq.
another one.
We had
Okay,
Rafiq. I
okay,
had Rafiq.
okay. All right.
Excellent, by the way.
Yeah. So there is a friend of mine uh, that I can think of, Essex Mitchell. Um,
Okay.
he is now COO of Hologic Industries. I think it's Hologic Industries or Hologic Medical Devices,
All right.
um, which is a medical device company, huge Fortune 500 company. The
Okay.
brother's doing. He's doing.
All
Yeah.
right. All right. Well, man, I have to double back on and get that information. I would love to have him on and hear his story. But for right now, I just want to thank you, Hakeem, man, for your time. It's been a wonderful conversation. It's been awesome just to connect and reconnect after so many years, and just to see that you're doing so well. I want you to hold on for a second here.
Okay.
Listen, it's been another outstanding and informative conversation here at Design Your Life. And hopefully you got something out of this because I definitely did. It's important for you to remember that your goals and your dreams are not to be ignored. Don't ignore your goals and your dreams. Your goals and your dreams, that's literally your GPS. That's your GPS talking to you, telling you which way to actually go. And you don't want to live your life with regrets for the things that you did not do. It's important for you to remember, like I always say, that you are a champion. Believe it and design your life. Next week, we have another exciting guest. I look forward to exposing more entrepreneurs and business people and business minds and wonderful, outstanding people that have crafted beautiful lives. This is Coach Bay. I'll see you next week. Design your life. Peace.
Design your life. You gotta dream it, like you mean it. Embrace the vision, no need to conceal it. Feel the masterpiece, the colors so bright. Aim for the stars, reach new heights. Align your life, don't let it design you. Chase your dreams, make them all come true. Dance to the rhythm, move with the beat. You're the creator, get up on your feet. Yeah, you gotta dream it, like you mean it. Embrace the vision, no need to conceal it. Dream masterpiece, the colors so bright. Aim for the stars, reach new heights. Design your life, don't let it design you. Chase your dreams, make them all come true. Dance to the rhythm, move with the beat. You're the creator, get up on your feet.